Botanico del Sol in the heart of Bryanston. It's one of these beautiful Johannesburg restaurants that overlooks a car park. There are many of those, but it does have a fantastic menu, really good lunch. And I just had lunch with probably the most famous East African rugby player I know, because although Gerard Holden is well known for his wine, let's leave the wine for a second, Gerard, because far more cool is the fact you have a single cap playing rugby for Uganda.
Absolutely, I was doing some work there in the 1980s and I ended up being drafted into the Ugandan team to play against Kenya, which is probably one of the most frightening experiences of my life.
Well, those days are well behind you. You still have a love of rugby, but you also have a great love of wine. Give us briefly the story of how you came to South Africa and how you left behind a career in banking and all sorts of very boring things and are now having far more fun.
So I used to spend a lot of time in Africa with my business, which was financing mining projects. And Australia, South Africa, Chile, Argentina were all part of my regular trip. And so my wine developed naturally from that. Rugby, wine, good food. It was a perfect job. And I had to do some work as well at the same time. And so I got to a point where I thought I wanted to do something different and I wanted to pursue the wine side of things. So we decided to move down to South Africa in 2006 and carried on doing some work around the mining side for a while. And then we saw this great opportunity to buy what is now Holden Manz in Franschhoek in 2010. And Migo and I, my partner, we took the big jump into the unknown, and we have a 5-star country house, which is obviously a very interesting business. We've got a restaurant, we've got a tasting room, and we've got an art gallery. So between all of those diverse businesses, as well as 2 small children, it's enough to keep you busy.
Now you also have a very serious wine business, as much as the fun you have with it is there, and you do put a lot of effort into this. And you've also got in your collection of assets a rather acclaimed French winemaker.
We have. We were very lucky through a mutual friend to come across Thierry in the end of 2014. And Thierry's worked with some of the most famous winemakers and wineries in the world. And he just decided to move permanently down to South Africa. He got married to a Cape Townian lady, so he had no alternative really. And he was looking for a home winery. He'd had some experience in Franschhoek with Anthony Rupert wines a few years before. And he came to the vineyard and he had a look around and he felt like he enjoyed the terroir. He thought there was something special in our little corner of Franschhoek. And after a couple of weeks of roaming around the cellar and tasting barrels, he said, okay, I think I can do something here, in his beautiful French accent. And so that was the start of a journey that has been going on and is going on for the last 5 vintages. 2019 will be our 5th vintage together. Thierry's renowned for producing wines which are well developed. There's a running joke in Franschhoek that most people have put their wines to bed and gone on holiday before we start picking. And that obviously leads to wines which are going to be fuller, they're going to be bigger, they're going to be richer. But Thierry's view is phenolic ripeness is something that you can't create, you can't add that afterwards. And if you don't get phenolic ripeness in the grapes, especially in our red varietals, then you're never going to get a wine which is going to A, last, and B, be something which is going to be of the right quality that we want to produce.
And that leads rather nicely into the wine in front of us. Now we've had a number of wines over lunch. We got here about 7 hours ago. It's been a really good session. Highly recommend the Springbok risotto and the beetroot carpaccio. It's fantastic. But the wine has been the star of the show. A very nice rosé, beautiful light colour, and drinking delightfully. We've had a couple of other great reds and a very pleasant Chardonnay, light understated wood. But this has to be my favourite. I've tried it before and Dan really likes wine with great joy, and I refuse to share it with anybody else, which is always a good sign. This I think is one vintage on, but it's a Cab Franc that taps into not just your own choice of varietals, because you're a big Cab Franc fan, but also the understanding that I think we're starting to pick up on South Africa, that we're making some pretty good Cabernet Franc.
I think that's true, and Cabernet Franc was something that I've always enjoyed before we bought the farm. And when we bought the farm, and I found there was this patch of just under a hectare of Cabernet Franc sitting right at the top of the farm, which everybody had kind of forgotten about. It's on a decomposed granite outcrop, which is just ideal from a soil perspective. It's the coldest part of the farm, but it's protected in its own little way, and it sits in this, what we call it, the tongue block. And Cabernet Franc, I think, needs to be ripe. I'm really not a fan of green flavours in Cabernet Franc. I think there's got to be a strong herbaceousness there. I think the raspberries need to come across. I think there's got to be, I refer to it sometimes as a fame-boss type of flavour that's there. So we have 3 clones of Cab Franc, and that's about as much detail as I'm going to say about that. We pick this when it's pretty ripe, and we want to make sure that we really have got those right flavours there. And then we go into a little bit of fun, so we take off the tops of the barrels and we separate the berries from the bunches, and we put the individual berries into the barrels. We close the barrels up and we roll them up and down the floor of the cellar, which is good exercise, but also quite dangerous. So sometimes we get the odd cellar intern who gets trapped underneath the barrels. And we let nature take its course, so it's a natural fermented wine. We don't add any commercial yeast. And then, most importantly, when fermentation is finished, we leave everything to macerate. So we let it soak together for about 50 to 60 days. And that really gets us lots of transfer of flavours into the juice. And then it's about the press, and the press is the most fun part. This is something Thierry is very hands-on with, and we have 3 different fractions. And then we bring those back together in certain proportions, and that's what creates the finished product. So it's nearly 2 years in French oak barrels. They're pretty expensive barrels, which is why this is pretty expensive wine. We only made just over 2,700 bottles of this wine. It's our 5th vintage of the Cabernet Franc Reserve. They are all going great. I had the privilege of tasting one of the few 2012 vintage that we've got left, and they're stunning wines. And I think what I really liked about South Africa and Cabernet Franc is there's room for a range of different styles, from a quite the tight Loire style like Lucas van Lockenberg is making, through where Brewer is making his Cabernet Franc. Rainbow's End has got a stunning Cabernet Franc, and then our own Cabernet Franc, we've got a lady called Mayvane. She has a great little small, tiny production in Franschhoek. If you can get one of her bottles of wine, that's a real cracker to get. And there are some superb examples, international class, of Cabernet Franc in the country. I think a barometer for me is the Cabernet Franc Challenge, introduced when it started was top 6, and now it's top 6 plus another 15 or 20 different categories below that. And there are, last year I think there were nearly 70 entries in the Cabernet Franc Challenge, from probably 25 or 30 entries the first year. So
this is one that is leading the charge. If some of that was a little bit too technical for you, I'll translate very briefly. They spend a lot of time making very nice wine. That's pretty much what Gerard was saying, and we're going to prove it. You've already topped yourself up.
Sorry.
The first time. This is Gerard's 7th bottle today, and he's not showing any worse for wear. That's what Ugandan international rugby players are famous for. And it's just, it captures you on the nose first, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh. It's a glorious nose, and then into just such a... that's just fantastic. I really enjoy this. So there we go. There's not that much of it, so seek it out quickly. Either get down to Franschhoek or at your next Ugandan Rugby Supporters Club meeting. This is all they serve. You'll be able to get hold of plenty of it. And what I love about what you guys do is you don't just make really cool wine with a very celebrated winemaker, but you do have so much fun doing it. There's a huge amount of passion for it. And you're also doing something that maybe Franschhoek hasn't got as much credit as it should have over the years, which is making seriously good wine. It's sometimes written off as just the cool culinary spot where you go and hang out for the day, but you are amongst a number of places and making some pretty awesome celebratory wine.
Absolutely. Come and visit us in Franschhoek. You can spend a week there, you can do 2 wineries a day maximum, and there is lots of great wines to have, as well as great food.
There we go. Head down to Franschhoek, go and look for Gerard, look for his Cab Franc in particular, but across the board some lovely wine. And I think I might just taste a few more, because it'll be a while yet till they kick us out of Basilica do Sol. Cheers.